So before we get started, I actually want to note that in the video I call for 9 cups or wells in the ice tray, and we're actually going to be using 10. So please note that. I'm going to show you these materials in just a moment. Hey guys! So today we're going to do the Environmental Health and Toxicology lab. I've put a little screenshot of the materials that you're going to need, but I wanted to give you a little shot of this so that you can see exactly what we're going to be using today. You'll need 9 toothpicks or small spoons. Whatever you have is fine, just whatever you have to stir. 1 glass of water for diluting, and then another glass of water for rinsing off your teaspoons. You're going to need a set of teaspoons. You're going to need an 1/8 teaspoon, a 1/4 teaspoon, and 1 full teaspoon for measuring. You'll need 9 small cups for the water, or you can even use an ice tray. That would work just fine. Also, you're going to need a marker for marking your cups or your ice tray, and in that case you'd need tape as well so that you don't lose track of your numbers. You'll need to keep track of which is which. You're also going to need some food coloring. I actually only have a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow, but it's going to be fine. The color doesn't matter necessarily as long as it's consistent. So I'm going to be mixing these two before I use them in a separate cup. That way the color starts out the same. 1.25 teaspoons is all you're going to need, and that equals out to about 0.21 ounces of food coloring. So I believe that each of those little food coloring bottles that you see here are about 0.25 fluid ounces. So one of these should be fine if you've got a full one, but like I said, I only have these two. So I'm going to mix those together and I'll show you that once we get there. Okay, so now you're going to have to get a system for numbering. I'm just going to number these cups 1 through 10. Like I said before, my apologies, it's actually 10 cups, not 9. So you're going to want 10 of these. Just number them 1 through 10. Okay, I've got my cups all labeled 1 through 10, and as you can see here, I actually ended up making green out of the blue and the yellow, so hopefully that was not confusing, but as long as you have the same color to start with, you're going to be fine on this. The first step is going to be to place 1 1/4 teaspoons of food coloring into well 1. So I'm going to use my full teaspoon and my 1/4 teaspoon to take the amount from here, the volume of food coloring. Let's see how this goes here. And this is going into well 1. And then you're going to rinse this guy. So that's why I've got this cup of water. And 1/4 teaspoon. Next, I'm going to take an 1/8 teaspoon of food coloring from well 1 and place it into well 2. And rinse. And I'm probably going to have to get another cup of this rinsing water because I'm not sure that that's going to work throughout the whole thing. So for cup 2, now that we've done the 1/8 teaspoon of food coloring from well 1 transferred into well 2, I'm going to dilute well 2 with 1 1/8 teaspoon of water from the dilution water. So I'm going to use the clean 1 teaspoon and the clean 1/8 teaspoon to dilute well 2. Then you're going to want to stir this solution. And it's extremely dark, so I can't really tell the difference between 1 and 2 at this point. So starting out with well 1, we had a 1/10 diluted solution. Diluting this solution and transferring into well 2, well 2 is now going to be 1/10 of 1/10, which is also 1/100th. At this point, you're going to want to complete the table for this solution. And then moving on to well 3, I'm going to again take 1/8 of a teaspoon from well 2 and place it into well 3, further diluting this. I'm gonna do the exact same thing with well 3 as I did with well 2 from well 2. So I'm going to be placing 1 1/8 teaspoons of water into well 3 now. And I'm finding that actually shaking is doing better than stirring with these little toothpicks. So it's kind of dependent on what you're going to use for your vessel. So now for well 4, as you can imagine, we're going to be taking 1/8 of a teaspoon of solution from well 3 and transferring into well 4. And then diluting that with the water as well. So you might have noticed I actually changed out my rinsing water and I added more water to my diluting water just because my teaspoons were kind of getting caught a little bit and I want to make sure that I get these full when I'm transferring. So I'm going to transfer the water now. You can see that I've got the solution from cup 3, the 1/8 of a teaspoon in cup 4, and now I'm going to dilute this with 1 1/8 teaspoon of clear water. And stir. You can see it getting lighter and lighter as we go. I'm just going to go ahead and go through the motions of doing exactly what we did here to here to here. I'm going to take from 4 now, this diluted, 1/8 of a teaspoon from 4, place it into cup 5, rinse, 1 1/8 teaspoons of water now into cup 5. And stir. Then I'm going to take 1/8 of a teaspoon from cup 5, place into cup 6, placing 1 1/8 teaspoon of water to dilute this guy. So at this point it's kind of getting to an area where it doesn't even look like there's much color in here at all. But we're going to continue all the way to 10. One-eighth of a teaspoon from cup 7 into cup 8. Now I'm going to do the last dilution from cup 9 into cup 10, taking the last 1/8 of a teaspoon, placing into cup 10, and adding our 1 1/8 teaspoons of water. Okay, so we've finished all of the dilutions and I ended up actually writing down each number inside of the cup so that you can see them because I was having kind of an issue with that. So now we're going to look at the actual dilutions from above, and you can see that starting out with number 1 is extremely dark, and then as we roll through it gets lighter and lighter. And this would be the point where you would want to fill out the rest of your table. All right, guys, have an awesome day.